the wind humming along a most expeditious path through the posies to an unexpected place where I shall tell the true origins of an integral element within the original works of MacKenzie-Childs. Oh, and look at this one. Imagine washing up next to a vase, a little beautiful silver urn like that. That's actually a sugar bowl in its oblong shape, and it's quite large. It comes from a grand collection of a silver tea set with a massive tray. And then here's where the bathtub is. You see, these men, when would they ever get a chance to see a bathtub on a boat? And then there are the flowers over in the right-hand corner, and a big long tray up on the left-hand wall that we made, and a mirror on a tire at the end of the bathtub. And this is the cargo camp, which is where the boat boys stay, and that's their salon, and that table is where they sit and work on the computer or put together puzzles or read a book or whatever they'd like to do. And that big switch piece up on the wall, that's where that turns on switches all over down below decks and right there as well. This is a more designed looking flower arrangement. And that little lamp, isn't it perfect for shining on flowers? Now this is an important photograph, not so much for the flowers, which as you can see are just another beautiful spray of very chubby white roses. I think they call them cabbage roses, I'm not sure. But if you look up in the foreground, you'll see that beautiful ever-evolving vase. You can see it better in this, except you can't see the bottom of it. It's in a Chinese bowl. But underneath it all is what looks like a library table. And actually what it is a bed. The lid lifts up and goes behind like a board, a backboard of the bed. And where the handles are, it folds down and a whole bed comes out, including a footboard. And it was just kind of layers and layers of old varnish, not a very pretty piece of furniture. And we had it for years and years. And one time, when my mother was visiting us, this was, I don't know, I think Daddy was there too, but she and I were just sitting visiting, and I don't know what made me think of this, but I said, why don't we paint this table? And that was a shocking idea because it was before even we started painting furniture. It's one of the first pieces of painted MacKenzie-Childs furniture. And see the pinkish blobs of dots on the green uprights? Well, those I just put on with thick blobs of paint. And it was thick oil paint, like artist oils. So those blobs dried thick, just like that. They didn't run or evaporate. And then there was the dark part in the middle between the two braces is a faux tortoiseshell that we perfected between us with feathers and all kinds of oils and things. And then the checks that you see there, that was the second time we ever used checks. The first time was Richard. We needed a little basin underneath the Fargo bar. We needed this little basin. There was just a spigot with no basin, and so water would just splay out all over the place, all over the cement floor. So he made a ceramic basin by hand, a beautiful one. It was oblong, kind of square, but oblong. And he made, as part of the decoration, blue and white checks. This is before they had colors pulled into them. This was the very first time. In fact, I was shocked. He had a flat brush and he just painted on the Majolica glaze. He painted these little blue checks by just streak, 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 streak. And I was so surprised. I thought, wow, that's brilliant. So that was the very first time I had ever seen checks being painted in Majolica. And then the checks that are there, the black and white checks, if you go in close, you can see that what I did with these, this has never been done before, is I would put my brush in the white paint or the black paint. This is thick paint. It's not like what we use on Majolica. It's much easier to paint with, actually. And then I would take just the tip of the brush and dip it in maybe a blue and a green and a ochre, and just a little feathery bit of that touch, and I would do the white checks, and as the color would kind of dissipate and look like it needed another spark, I'd dip it in another few colors, and just a teeny bit after picking up the white, and then doot, 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 so that the color, evolved and changed. And then the black also, I would also add color to the black. And that idea came from being in Europe so often, and also we had some friends who lived in Boston whose floor on their entry level of their house was old stone marble, and it had peculiarities in it. And I just loved the way it had all those peculiar attitudes about it. So really the checks were an imitation of tile, or stone tile. Now we're all the way up top side of the ship. This is the captain's quarters, and there are boat boys up there, and so we put another shell bouquet there. And those lamps are lamps that we designed and made. They're actually made out of a sports ball that the fellows would play in between work, maybe between the end of the workday and dinner. And it's a rattan ball that they make, and they kind of kick it, or they use their hands and arms and all parts of their body to have it go back and forth, and it makes that wonderful kind of crackling sound that dense, hard, thick rattan makes. And they just beat it back and forth, and they just never wear out. And we love them so much that we asked them if they would make them for us that we could use as part of our lamp parts. And here's a close-up of that same photo. You can tell it's winter because the light is so cold looking up there. But isn't it beautiful with the flowers? Here we are on the aft deck of the passenger deck. So we're one deck below where we just were. And look at those red roses looking beautiful with some great big rugged leaves from the weeds around Yankee. Look at all those textures, from the shipyard to the waters to the rusted old barges. And now I think this is the last photo. I just love this. It feels like a windswept beach to me. It's in the very, very aft on a round table that we designed. It's our collection of Adirondack furniture, and it's some sort of pinkish white roses with a little touch of pink, like a blush, just a blush of pink. And those weeds that I put in it just naturally grew in a curve, and the wind also was coming that way. So look you can even see the lantern above it. Everything is coming in that way, but actually before I even set it down there, those were shaped in that shape. So it looked like it was all planned together. And that's on the very back corner of Yankee. That's the end of this little chapter about having rebirth to these lovely old flowers and any others that come our way. So off we go to the rest of our day.